Recording started, and we should be good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me today. I'm going to just share my screen here. For those of you who haven't seen me speak before, we do kind of a little bit of a mix of going between slides and going into real live, well, today, vibe coding platforms. So hopefully that works for you guys. I just want to get this set up so I can see the chat. Give me 1 second here. Don't want to miss anything. Okay, got the chat up. I can see you. I can see my presentation. I think we're good to go. All right. Well, I'm really excited about this topic today. And just to preface this, for anyone who is completely lost, who hasn't used any sort of AI yet, that's okay. But today's session is going to be a little bit, I won't say advanced, but we're going to be diving into tools without explaining what the tools are from a 101 perspective. We will be showing how you can build apps and websites with what's called vibe coding. So I'll go through the presentation. We're going to do some Q&A, and then we're actually going to build something together. So hopefully that sounds good. If you have big questions, I am monitoring the chat and I will stop and read them if it makes sense. So let's just dive into it. First, let me just introduce myself. My name is actually Robin, but my friends call me Jam. Basically, it came from in my 20s, I was doing a lot of karaokeing, and everyone was like, how are you running a business and doing all these things, but still have room in your brain for every 2000s hip hop lyric? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just always jamming out, I guess. So that name just stuck. And yeah, so I spent my last 18 years in agency life. I've been doing everything from website design and development, digital marketing, and video production. I owned my own e-commerce agency for about 5 years, grew it to 22 people, decided I didn't want to work 80-hour weeks and also wanted to start a family at that time. So took some time off, and in 2022, I started Jam, and then it turned to Jam AI in 2023 because I saw the writing on the wall that literally everything I had ever done was about to change with AI. So I quit sleeping through the night at that point and I've been on a mission to learn everything I can. I've got some amazing connections, experts, and friends in the AI space where I learn everything. And then I'm trying to digest all of that and teach it to all of you, my small business owners, my friends who are not necessarily developers or super technical, but want to learn how to use this stuff. So this is my main thing. It's called Club Jam. Just wanted to show you it real quick. You can get a 7-day free trial if you go to jamout.ai. And we're starting this 6-week sprint on Monday called Zero to Claude. And I'll talk a little bit more about Claude today, but I do think it's one of the most important AI tools and platforms to learn at this time. So in Club Jam, it's not a course, it's a community, and we meet weekly, multiple times a week if you want. And we have a bunch of people in there besides me that are answering questions and all coming together to help grow our businesses. All right, so let's get into what vibe coding is. Just real quick in the chat, could you give me a Y for yes if you've heard of vibe coding and N for no if you have not? All right. Just want to see where we're at. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to start with what vibe coding is. And this is a cute little infographic that Notebook LM put together for me. But without looking at this, vibe coding is simply the ability to work with large language models and vibe coding platforms to build websites. So this is the most incredible and one of the most important things for small business owners because in my agency days and now I've been working with small business owners, and the number one most expensive thing is your website. Well, it used to be at least, because in order to get a website, you had to either work with an agency or buy into a platform that pretty much does it for you. And both were expensive. And now with AI, you can use tools like Lovable, Claude, Manus, even ChatGPT to help you create websites and publish websites with no code at all. So to kind of just show you this a little bit, the old way, and believe me, I sold e-commerce websites and regular websites. The most expensive website I ever sold was $700,000. It was a ginormous build. It was a full implementation for a company that sold commercial kitchen products. And basically, it was this 3.5 year build before it was actually done. It was so much money. And then the maintenance to monitor everything that we built after that. But just with a regular small business, if you go and hire somebody to build a WordPress site or a Squarespace site and you want it to look really good, you're spending anywhere between $4,000 and $10,000. So, and then if you want to make updates or you have a new offer or your prices change, you have to go ahead and ask for that help and they charge you hourly. So the new way is basically you have the idea, you make the idea, and you launch the idea. Pretty simple. And there's multiple platforms that you could work within to do this. But we're going to show you the easiest ones. One question I get all the time is if you have a website already, say you're on WordPress, and you like some of the things that I'm showing you today in Lovable or Manus, do you have to move your website off WordPress? Do you have to move your website off Squarespace? And the answer is no, you do not. You can build with these tools and you could implement what you build into the platform you already have. So if you're kind of like, oh, I already have a website, I don't want to move it, and you're going to zone out for the next 40 minutes, don't do it. You can still learn some stuff and apply it to this site you already have. All right. So one thing just to know, people have been vibe coding for about a year at this point now, and 63% of people who say they have been vibe coding have zero development skill. So that just shows you the amount of people who are building websites, creating apps with no skill at all. This is not new. They've already been doing it. And then the other thing that's really interesting, so I have a bunch of contacts who are, raising money, trying to find money, and then also in groups where they are giving money for businesses. And one of the guys, his name's Mike Lyons, he's actually from Chicago. He posted recently on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'm an investor and I'm super interested. I take meetings every week. And at this point, if somebody's bringing me a PowerPoint deck, I don't want to see it. I know with AI, they can put together a working platform that could show me what they're trying to do. And if they're not going to put in the effort and they're not up to speed on technology to this point, I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to give them money. And the comments and people agreeing were hundreds. So just know, it doesn't need to be a full platform. It could just be putting together ideas before you move forward and invest in a platform. So, of course, this is just saving a lot of time and money. One of the things that I think is really interesting, or says English is the new programming language. One of the things that has helped me with vibe coding specifically is I was always the middle man, the middle woman between my clients and agencies and my developers. And so I've always been able to communicate what they're asking for, give it to the developer in a way that makes sense, and then make sure that what I'm getting back is what the client asked for. Well, now just my job that I had is the important one. It's communicating the idea, the thing you want to build, making sure that's really clear before you give it to the developer. So if you can do that, you're going to be really good at building apps and websites. Let's see, I feel like we kind of already nailed this. I guess the thing from this is um, you can build you can build your vibe coded platform. Kind of like I said, you can get it to a point where you're like, okay, I can see it, I can touch it, I can kind of play with what I have here, and then you can continue to refine. Whereas when you worked with a traditional developer, you had to have everything really planned out before you even began your project. So I think that's something just to think through. A lot of people in anything we do, the more I work with small business owners, a lot of people are just like paralyzed with this fear of, hey, I'm not ready to start yet. I don't have everything perfect, whether it's launching your business or launching your website. So just know that when it comes to vibe coding, it doesn't cost you a lot of money to put your idea up and work inside of it. It does not have to be perfectly figured out before you get there. So here are some of the bigger vibe coding platforms, and you'll see I also have Claude in here, which is not necessarily a vibe coding platform, but I'll talk through why I have it in here. Just real quick in the chat, does anyone see anything that they recognize in here? I see somebody says they have Emergent as well. Does this work like Claude? Yes, you can use Emergent as well. All right. Yes. All of them, but Super Agent and maybe Manus are new to you. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's talk through Lovable. Lovable is one of the main platforms that non-technical users are working within. And I'll actually get in there and show you Lovable. It's not my favorite vibe coding platform, but it is by far the easiest to start in. And I'll show you something that I built in there for my mom, actually. And with my mom, I made her do it sitting next to me. So uh, my mom in her 70s, she doesn't look like it. She'd be mad if I said that. But she built her entire website herself. So that was pretty cool. So Lovable is basically this full stack generation, which means you can build your entire website and functionality in there. So whether you need to take payments, fill out forms, connect to an email marketing system like MailChimp, all you have to do is ask the system to do it. So it's a very, very easy platform. And in fact, I think I'm going to show you while I have this up. Okay, so let me show you Lovable when you first get there, kind of show you the interface. So when you log into Lovable, it looks just like all of these other large language models. So instead of chatting with it, it's saying, hey, what do you want to build? And so this is where it gets really fun because you can go and put in exactly what you want to build and it will pop up. So this is, my mom is retired and she was just looking for a little bit of extra income and she loves dogs. So she thought she'd do like a daycare overnight for dogs in her neighborhood. So all we did was we went to ChatGPT and said, hey, my mom wants to start this site. We're going to use Lovable. We explained everything she wanted to do, and it actually came up with a prompt for us to put into Lovable. So over on this side is where I put in the prompt from ChatGPT. It was pretty long. It goes over who we're looking to work with, the key pages. So we wanted like a hero section with a welcoming headline, an overview of our services, a little bit about my mom, services and pricing, and then a contact form, what we wanted in the form. And then when it came to the design and branding, she didn't really know. She was just kind of like leaving it up to the AI, but we left it with warm and friendly, soft, natural colors, and then mobile first. So that's all we did. We put in this big prompt from chat, and then it takes about 8 minutes or so, and it'll pop up over here. And so this is the website that it built for her. As you can see, it's very nice looking. Then it has a little inquiry. So once somebody fills out this form, it can go to her email. And then it has a little overview of her services. And then this part was really cute because all I did was upload a picture of her from Facebook and it wrote all about her. It at first made up things that was not real because it didn't have the information. But I thought it was cute that it even made it up. And then this I thought was really awesome. Just as somebody who's in the marketing space has been for a long time, I thought this was really creative. So instead of testimonials, it made wagamonials, which is awesome. So in the chat, have you guys played with Lovable? Do you have questions about Lovable before we move on to anything else? Awesome. Well, as you work through it, so obviously it wasn't perfect at first. And so it says, hey, here's what I made, and here's what's next. And then you can just literally go through and say, hey, I want to change these things. And this is where it's really great to have that project management experience type stuff because you just talk to it as if you're talking to a developer. Hey, I don't like this color or use this logo. Let's see here. I got a couple questions. Does it publish and host the site for you? Great question. So yes, there's two ways you could do it. So you can go over here and hit publish, and it'll actually give you a Lovable URL. So I can hit update. This becomes a free URL with your, I think Lovable costs about $20 a month. So it goes up based on how many websites you're hosting. But if you wanted to go ahead and launch it, I don't know if it went yet. Yep. So this is the front-facing website URL. Now, if she wanted it to be like coloradodogwalking.com, she would have to go in and add a custom domain. And so you could do that in here. You could either buy a domain through Lovable, or you can connect a domain that you already have. And this is so incredibly easy. It actually will, if you buy it through Lovable, you just stay in Lovable. You could search URLs and you could buy it. To connect your domain, it'll walk you through where your domain is currently listed. So if you have a domain on GoDaddy or NameBright or something like that, you actually just put your domain in and it'll log you into your domain host and just walk you through the steps. So as far as getting it live, it's incredibly easy. I'm going to go back to my Lovable and just kind of show you some other use cases. So if you've a lot of my SCORE webinars are around marketing and sales using AI, and so I'm big on landing pages. So I've been helping people make landing pages, and landing pages are specific pages that you want to send maybe ads to, or they're additional pages to your site. So I actually build all my landing pages in Manus, so I'll show you how that works, but this is one that I was building for one of the trainers in Club Jam. He wanted to offer his creative compass. So this was another just cute little landing page that we made together in Lovable. And we were able to launch that with his domain. All right. Check the comments real quick. All right, so that's a little bit about Lovable. And I would say if you are new to the vibe coding thing entirely, it's a great place to start. But I am going to show you my favorite one in just a few minutes. Let's see here. So one things I want to talk about are the blind spots and some of the things you should not do with vibe coding, because before you get too excited about it, there's a couple things that are risky when it comes to building vibe coding systems when you're not technical at all. Number one is if you have something where people have to sign in to see your content. So maybe you have what's called gated content, so a course or something that you're selling. You want to make sure that you have somebody else looking at your vibe coded platform. One of the things that happens in Lovable or these other tools is they'll actually put up what's called an OAuth and have people sign in if that's how you want to do it. But the pages may be vulnerable on the platform itself. So, I guess in simple terms, some of the vibe coding platforms are easy to hack. So, there's something about using Manus that helps you stay a little bit more secure. And one of you in the comments mentioned Manus already. Manus is another platform, and it's actually more than a vibe coding platform. It is a full large language model and it's a research platform. So, if any of you were able to join my competitor research webinar that I did last month with the score of Chicago, we used Manus pretty much the entire time. Manus is my second favorite AI tool of all times. I think it's one that everyone should get to know. And the reason I like to build websites in Manus is because it makes it so easy to make sure you're secure, launch your website, research before you build your website, and then also once you have it up, you can manage it just like you would in Squarespace. Let me just check my questions. How do you manage confidentiality if you need to be HIPAA compliant? So that's a great question and something that Manus would help you do and build. Whereas things like Lovable, I would definitely bring in some sort of technical mind to just double check your work. But in Manus, I would trust the work that it builds, and I'll show you why in just a moment. I actually started to vibe code a website right before this call, but I kind of thought it wouldn't be ready yet, and it's not. You can see here though, Manus has been working about 42 minutes on this website. I'm just gonna say, are you stuck? Sometimes it'll like spin around. But okay, I'm gonna show you what I love about Manus and vibe coding. So I built a website. I rebuilt my husband's website. He does video production. He owns a company called Social Goat, and his website was super out of date and pretty much embarrassing. So I said, hey, we need to rebuild this. And I decided to use Manus. And the cool thing about Manus is, as I said, it's a huge research tool. So before I even started doing any design or development, I went to Manus and I asked it to do research on websites and companies that do really well in his industry. Let me find this. So I'm going to actually show you my prompt. I'll have to go way back because we've been editing this website quite a bit. But it's interesting to start a project out that way because when I worked inside agencies, that was the number one thing we would do before we'd start any website development project was to learn about the company. So we would learn, who are you? What is your brand? What makes you stand apart from your competitors? Who are your competitors? Who's doing well in the space? And we would want to figure out all of that information because when it comes to SEO and content creation, what's working works and you don't need to recreate the wheel. And so what I did was I said, review high-end video production agencies that do corporate events, CEO interviews, interview-driven videos, doc style production, and video commercials. Find the best ranking websites, the 5 best ranking websites. So before I even did any of this work, I spent probably a whole day with Manus researching what websites in his industry were doing well and why. And so you can see over here, it did all this research and then it developed the top 5 agencies And it even created this whole entire report for me on these agencies. What was making them rank well? What were they doing? What are their capabilities? Who's their portfolio? What are their strengths? And so basically, I got all of this information so that I could say, okay, based on everything that they're doing right in the industry, rewrite the content for each page of Social Goat to rank better as a production agency. So it went through. This was when it was his old website still, and it was going through, created all of the content for every page, and then it basically wrote every page's website out in a content document. Again, back when I worked at agencies, that's what we did. We would have to, before we designed anything, we would get the content set up correctly. So, this is something that's really important when you're rebuilding your site. And then at the same time, I wrote it like, hey, we have a certain vibe. He has a certain way that he talks. Let's keep all of his customer testimonials. I put all of his Vimeo links in, unique images. So I was just chatting the whole time on the left with Manus, and then it was building. So it built this entire website and has all of his information. It brought over pictures of them. It brought over all of his real testimonials from Google testimonials, which I thought was really cool without me asking. Because what it does is it scrapes the entire internet looking for information and then brings it to your project. So, one thing I like about this too that I mentioned is if you click on settings when you build something in Manus, this is where you have full control over the website. And so you can, again, change your domain, build your domain. He already had a domain, so of course I just connected it here. And then this is the part that I love. So, of course, if you haven't heard, SEO is back. It's one of the most important things that you could work on because not only are we working on search engine optimization, but we're working on large language engine optimization, commonly called GEO, generative engine optimization, or AEO, agentic engine optimization. All that this means is that putting out information via a blog and FAQ are very important for these large language models to recommend you when somebody's chatting and chatting with ChatGPT, chatting with Gemini, Claude, and asking for recommendations. This is how those are finding you. So, one of the things I love with Manus is I can come in here and hit optimize, and it'll go through and change all of the things that really matter when it comes to making sure that you are ranking well for SEO and AEO. So, I like that quite a bit. And then ongoing, I handed this over to Mike and said, hey, here's your new website. If you need any changes to it, because he often needs to upload new videos, he'll just come in and say, hey, we just shot this video. We need you to update it. And he just chats over here and it updates the website. So he doesn't have to pay Squarespace monthly anymore. He doesn't have to pay a designer or developer anymore. He's just actually I'm paying for it, but it's $20 a month on this platform. So I'm going to stop and see if I have any questions. Looks like I was muted somehow. Okay, can you hear me now? Cool.
Yes.
Thank you. So if you were just starting out, I would suggest playing on Lovable just to kind of get the feel of what vibe coding is. But if you're seriously looking to launch a website that you're going to be using ongoing, I would suggest Manus because it is by far just superior for any sort of integration that you might need, meaning like adding your MailChimp newsletter subscription or adding a meta pixel if you're doing any sort of meta ads. It's just so coherent when you ask it to do something. And I have over 300 people now in my membership, and I'd say the majority of them are Manus people and building websites on Manus with zero technology or development experience, and they are loving it. So let's see here. I think I saw another one. If I create in Manus, then can I edit the website in another platform or AI? I'm very glad you asked that question. So, yes, you can. This is why I brought Claude up in the beginning. So, I just did a SCORE national webinar called like AI at your fingertips, and it is recorded. I like what I talked about in there, which is what I preach everywhere, which is if you can have one large language model, meaning Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, become your partner, then you guys can work together in all of these other tools. So, just to explain this further, for me, Claude is my partner. I have fully invested in Claude. I do think it is the best large language model on the market, and I could talk about that for hours. But Claude and I work together in Manus. So, yes, I just this morning, the one that I'm trying to build that's taking forever. Oh, here we go. I actually built this in Claude first. And so what I did was I used Claude to kind of talk through what I wanted to do. So, as I mentioned, we're doing our zero to Claude sprint, and a lot of my Club Jam members are excited about it, but they wanted to see the roadmap. So I'm like, okay, I could take my training plan and make a landing page for them. Well, if I did that in Manus, I'd have to like re-explain my design and all of that. Whereas in Claude, I already have my design systems figured out, right? So in Claude, it knows my brand, it knows my colors, it knows the buttons I like to use, the shadows I use. And so a big thing that is important is making sure that your brand is recognizable everywhere that you build something. So for me, I like to use Claude to figure out what I'm going to build. I actually use Claude Code on my desktop. So this morning I said, hey, I want to build this thing, use our design system, and it put together this HTML file, which I sent to Manus. And all I said was, I'd like to build this website. And the reason I put it in Manus is because I like Manus to host all my websites. That's where I like to have the control. I like to have the SEO. So all I did was say, I'd like to build this website, and it did everything because it has my design system from Claude, right? So all I did was put that in, and it created some images. And actually, I haven't seen this yet. So it goes over phase 1 of 6 because we have 6 weeks and 5 trainings every week. So it kind of shows them what we're working on. I obviously have a couple things that I'd like to fix before I send it out. Like this should move and not like be over it. It's static. So I would just say, don't make the navigation sticky. Have it stay at the top. That's called sticky navigation when it stays. I don't like that. So, yeah, so this is how I'm using Claude as my COO, my partner, to help me build everything that I make inside Manus. But I think this looks really cute and it's on brand and it's ready to ship to my members in probably 20 minutes or so. So yeah, you can move your site anywhere. If you wanted to build it in Manus and move it, you have access to your code here. So you could copy this HTML and put it into any large language model. So I think that's really important to talk through. Um, we're not coding, we're just copying and pasting. And then for those of you who know what GitHub is, if you wanted to connect your GitHub, which I have here, all it does is take all that code and put it somewhere where it stays forever. And it's just kind of a backup. It's something that makes you feel a little bit more safe. Um, let's see here. Manus isn't okay. So the question is, I know you said Manus is more secure than Lovable. How does it compare to traditional hosts like Wix or Squarespace? Let me just clarify. It's not necessarily more secure. It's better at development. So if you have something where you want it locked down and you want to make sure that, the web page that you're gating or locking down isn't accessible from any other direction, building that in Manus, it would do a lot better job than building that functionality in Lovable. How it compares to Wix or Squarespace is exactly the same. So I think it's apples to apples as far as that goes. Tips on building the design system. So this is something we're going to go over in my Zero to Claude session next week. But if you're a Claude user, which I hope all of you will be after this, it's just really great. They have something new called Design that you just click on right here. And you can vibe design. But what's great about this is you can just chat over here and say, I want to create my design system. So I've already made mine, but you would just name it and say, I want to create a new one, right? And you'll click high fidelity and it just asks you questions and it asks you to upload. So for mine, it asked for my logo, my colors, my prompts. And so now anything that I build inside Claude, it knows to pull this for any sort of landing page that I build, any sort of marketing at all that I build. Let's see here. Are sites hosted on Lovable or Manus? Yes, you can host on Lovable or Manus. You can also build a landing page and host it wherever you'd like. So my main website, I need to actually redo it. I was thinking about starting it on this call, but it's a whole other thing. This is built on Kajabi and hosted at Kajabi. And I have a couple landing pages that I've made in Manus. Oh, let me show you. That are actually hosted on my Kajabi platform. So you can pick and choose where you want to host it. And honestly, if you have questions about that, you can chat with Manus or Lovable about where or when you should host it. So it's always something that you can, again, think of these platforms as if they're your contractor, your developer, and you can ask them questions that you would ask a real developer person. Yes, Manus will build phone apps. Actually, one of our members, his name's David Farr, he just created an app that tracks his own personal training program. So he's working with a personal trainer and he was sick of like looking it up in emails. So he made his own app for it. I will say it's hard to get your app into the App Store. It's easy to get your app into Google Play. So if you have an Android, it's easy to get your app in. Manus will actually walk you through it, but iPhone apps are pretty hard to get approved, just FYI. Let's see here. Ray Rogers said, I have a website for my business and it's expensive. I would like to use Manus to recreate the site to see how it would look. Yeah, you should use the same process. So I would go over here and I would say, this is my website. And then you put your link in. And then you would just say, depending on what you want it to look like, if you have a very specific look in mind that you want, I would talk it out, write it out. If you have no idea, but you just know it's out of date, there's some really great prompts, simple ones like make it look more up to date, make it look more 2026. A lot of people use the prompt, make it look Apple-esque. And so things like that will really change the look and feel of the websites that you're building. All right. Thoughts on Claude versus ChatGPT for a partner in building websites. So the whole reason that I like Claude, just kind of in a quick 30-second overview, is Claude can actually live on your desktop. So this is my browser version, but on your desktop, it becomes three different programs. And you have Claude Code, you have Claude Cowork, and you have Claude Chat. And so, literally on my desktop, I have multiple agents running in Claude at all times. So, this morning I had Claude scrape the internet and find 10 different social media videos that I could do. It out of the 10, every morning I select which three I want to do. It'll write scripts for them. I had it build this website this morning. I have it scrape my community to see if I missed anything from yesterday as far as people asking me questions. And then my chat is on my desktop as well. So it has access to what I'm doing in Claude Code. It can act as my executive assistant. It goes to my email, my calendar. It tells me what I have coming up. It reviews the meetings I had yesterday and asks me if I followed up or what I need. So that's why I like Claude because it feels much more like an agent. I like ChatGPT for image creation. For those of you who don't know, ChatGPT got a major upgrade with their image creation. It's called Image 2.0. I'm actually doing a training on it later today in Club Jam. So I did this morning, which is pretty cool. You just upload a selfie and then say, like, using this portrait, do my color analysis and be my fashion expert for summer. So it does stuff like that. But it also does really amazing marketing stuff. So this, which I showed you guys earlier. So I use ChatGPT for that. You could also use ChatGPT to vibe code. ChatGPT is good at editing, so it can create the HTML that you want to. It'll show you what it's building, and then when you're done, you could copy that HTML just like I did for this website, and then you could just paste your HTML document in Manus, and it will build it. The only reason you can't launch it in ChatGPT is you can't host it in ChatGPT. You'd have to find a host. So I heard somebody talk about emergent earlier. So that's something that you can do also. Of course, I'm not logged in. So it's another place where you can paste your HTML and build and launch and host your site. So that's what that is. Let me see if I have any other questions here. What is a landing page? A landing page is something you run ads to. So, or something that just has one specific message. Usually it's something that doesn't confuse people. So let's see. I made a landing page just to train people about like Club Jam sprints and how we train. And so it's something where you want somebody to take one specific action and not get inundated with everything you offer in your business. So this was an example of one where it was like, hey, this is how we train. And so people aren't distracted by my other website where I talk about like keynote speaking and webinars and all of that. This is a landing page that just tells you about the thing I want you to know about at this time. So that's what a landing page is. Okay. Do you manage your own SEO in Manus? As far as my SEO, I have to say I'm very proud. I'm crushing SEO lately, and it's because of my Claude skill, because blogging is more important than ever. And I have this Claude skill, which I'll teach everyone about, that basically creates blogs in a way that both search engines and large language models love. So in this skill, see if I can make this bigger. Nope, I can't. In this skill, Claude knows that it has to follow 7 very specific instructions when writing content for my website. And so, like, even just this morning, I said, let's see. Oh, it must be on it's on my desktop version. But I'm creating blogs like every day with this skill. So like all these blogs are written by Claude and it's coming up with the topics as well. And I actually just saw that in my Google Analytics, one of my blogs was my main traffic source for the past 2 months, which was Manus versus Claude. So pretty cool. Um, when I move my whole site over to Manus, I will be managing my SEO in there. But because I'm on Kajabi right now, I can't do that. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, let's see. Will Manus build integrations between the phone and the back end of the website? If you're asking if it will do like SMS texting, it does have that capability. It's just like it also does email newsletters and things like that. So Manus is trying to become kind of like this all-in-one marketing platform, which is pretty cool. If a business only has a Facebook page, can one use that as a knowledge base to build the web page? Yes, for sure. So same thing, I would go to Manus or Lovable, wherever you're going to decide to build your website. And you could do a couple of things. You could copy and paste all of the content. You could screenshot your page and put it in. What I would do personally is I would train Claude or ChatGPT on your business and talk to it and say, hey, I only have a Facebook page. I really want to get a website up. Read this content and help me come up with website content that will explain what I do and who I am. And then from there, I would put that prompt into Lovable, just like I did for my mom's site here. Because remember, I had ChatGPT write this entire thing for her. So it's not like my mom. My mom worked in a grocery store her whole life. She doesn't know how to build a website. So she literally just we talked to ChatGPT, we said what she wanted to do, and this is what it sent us. What are the 7 instructions we're supposed to use? Oh, are you talking about for the blog skill? I think she's talking about for the blog. Can I generate an app based on my website creation? Yeah, as long as you had requirements around what you want it to do, you could definitely do that. And people are talking about apps in different ways, I've noticed. So some people call vibe coded websites apps. Some people call internal vibe coded websites apps. And so what I mean by that is people are actually building their own CRMs, their own sales platforms that are more internal facing, and they're calling those apps. So it depends what you are defining as an app, but yes, you could build either one in Manus. Um, oh, the 7 parts of the blog. I could show you, but it's kind of long, uh, and a little off topic, but also important. So I think I'll show you. Here. Oh, it's 5 sections. Sorry about that. So I could just real quick say break down. these 5 important steps to create an SEO powered blog. And then I'll send this to you, Bill. You could put it in the follow-up if you'd like.
Okay.
All right, just looking at the time, are there any other questions about vibe coding while this comes up, or any questions about AI in general? I know this was kind of a 201. I know it could be a lot. This is why, yeah, let's see. Familiar with Gamma. Of course, I'm familiar with Gamma. I love Gamma. Gamma is an AI powered presentation generator, and it's actually integrated with uh, Claude as well. So Claude uses Gamma all the time. What I like about Gamma is that you can generate with AI or you can upload. So if you have an old PowerPoint that you want to look better or update, you can update it in here. What I don't love about Gamma is I feel like they all have a very specific look. But I did just see that they're getting an update. So I'm excited to see what happens there. See here. Just want to make sure. Oh, just a couple images here of internal apps like I was talking about that people are developing. So this was somebody's like business CRM that they made. Let's see. Yeah, so just some common questions. We kind of already talked about all these though. Like you don't have to be technical. Just start, just go in and have a conversation and just see what it comes up with. See, I have a service-based business where I teach CPR courses. I want to keep people engaged with games and knowledge-based updates. Any suggestions for this? Are they certificates? Though, okay. So they created CPR certificate for 2 years. Honestly, I think your question, if you could copy that question and put it into Manus, I'd be really curious what it would come up with. I want to also just say that the tools I showed you today are, 3 or 4 of hundreds. There's so many out there. And if you're going to use one, just do your research on it. Highly recommend, we didn't talk about it today, but any sort of Google AI products as well. So that's something that I would recommend. But there's a lot of tools out there that are popping up and they seem like big platforms because it's so easy to make all this stuff now, but they're not. So just make sure whatever you're building in is a real company. So before you give your credit card or anything like that, just do a little bit of research. But I just want to kind of end with the reason I love AI is because I'm a mom, I run a business, my husband travels, and I love to be outside. I love to work out, and I'm literally running my company, working about 3 or 4 hours a day at the computer at this point because I have AI systems in place, and I know everyone else can do this too. I see somebody asking for my Jam link. So you can go to jamout.ai and check out Club Jam is what it's called. But I like whoever said Jam Camp. I might have to turn it into Jam Camp in the summer. Last question. If you use Manus for your website, does it have security like site lock built into it? So Manus has a lot of security upgrades, plugins, and the cool part is you can ask it. So is it secure? Can you test it? You can do things with Manus that you can't do in these other platforms with prompts like that. In my picture here, I have my other AI experts. This is Tony in the middle. He teaches bi-weekly on Tuesdays, and then Kevin from Malta. He does a lot of more advanced AI training. But yeah, I hope hope to hear more from you all. And Bill, thank you so much for having me as usual.
It's always a pleasure
Awesome.
and informative.
Yeah, I know we kind of went all over the place today, but it was necessary, I think, to kind of make sure everyone gets the idea of vibe coding. So, my
Yeah,
big thing, everyone, is just try it. Just go out and try it. It won't hurt.
sounds good. Hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thanks again, and thanks everyone for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye bye.